Who was truly the victim in the story of seduction and betrayal between Yusuf and the wife of Al-Aziz? This question has intrigued generations of believers and scholars, inviting us to delve into the teachings of the Quran to find the truth. The story of Yusuf, the prophet blessed with extraordinary beauty and unwavering faith, and the wife of Al-Aziz, caught in a whirlwind of desire and desperation, offers us an eternal lesson on divine justice and moral integrity. From the beginning, the Quran presents Yusuf as a model of virtue and patience. Despite the adversities he faces, from the betrayal of his brothers to the false accusation that leads him to prison, Yusuf maintains his faith and righteousness, trusting in Allah's wisdom and plan. On the other hand, the wife of Al-Aziz, seduced by her own passion and frustration, finds herself trapped in a web of deceit that she herself has spun. The Quranic narrative not only tells us a story of individual characters, but also challenges us to reflect on human nature and divine justice. Was Yusuf the true victim, suffering at the hands of human injustice, or was the wife of Al-Aziz, a prisoner of her own desires, the one who truly lost more in this drama of betrayal and redemption? We invite you to join us on this journey through one of the most poignant and instructive tales in the Quran. We will explore every detail of this story, analyze the motivations of its characters, and reflect on the lessons we can apply to our lives today. In the end, we will answer the crucial question: who is truly the victim? Prepare to be inspired and moved by the eternal wisdom contained in this wonderful story. In the quiet city of Canaan, there lived a young man named Yusuf, the son of the prophet Jacob. Yusuf was one of Jacob's 12 sons and stood out among his brothers for his beauty and deep spirituality. Jacob, aware of Yusuf's special qualities, had a special love for him, which generated envy and resentment among his other sons. One night, Yusuf had a dream that would change his life forever. In this dream, he saw 11 stars, the sun, and the moon prostrating before him. With the innocence and enthusiasm of his youth, Yusuf shared his dream with his father. Jacob, recognizing the prophetic nature of the dream, said to Yusuf, "O my son, do not relate your vision to your brothers, or they will contrive against you. Indeed, Satan is to man a manifest enemy." Quran 12:5. Jacob knew that this dream indicated a great future for Yusuf, but also understood the danger posed by the envy of his other sons. He warned Yusuf about the resentment his brothers might harbor if they knew the content of the dream. Jacob was aware of human nature and how jealousy could lead to committing unthinkable acts. Yusuf's brothers already felt a growing envy towards him, exacerbated by the special love their father had for him. This envy turned into hatred and led the brothers to conspire against Yusuf. One day, while they were far from home, the brothers decided to get rid of him. They proposed several ideas, from killing him to abandoning him in a distant place, but ultimately opted for a middle solution, throwing him into a deep well, hoping that a passerby would find him and take him away. They approached Jacob and, with deceit in their hearts, asked permission to take Yusuf with them to graze the flocks. They said, "O our father, why do you not trust us with Yusuf? Indeed, we are sincere to him. Send him with us tomorrow that he may eat well and play, and indeed, we will take care of him." Quran 12:11-12. Jacob, though worried, allowed Yusuf to go with them. However, his heart was filled with fear and sadness. The brothers, seizing the opportunity, carried out their plan. They threw Yusuf into the well and returned home with a shirt stained with false blood, presenting it to their father and saying, "O our father, indeed we went racing and left Yusuf with our possessions, and a wolf devoured him. But you would not believe us, even if we were truthful." Quran 12:17. The pain in Jacob's heart was immense. He looked at the shirt, and even recognizing the deceit, responded with beautiful patience, trusting in Allah's help. Indeed, your souls have enticed you to something, so patience is most fitting. And Allah is the one sought for help against that which you describe. Quran 12:18. Meanwhile, Yusuf was alone at the bottom of the well, but his faith in Allah did not waver. Even in that darkness, Yusuf knew he was not alone. Allah, in His infinite mercy, had a plan for him. At that moment of desperation, Allah inspired Yusuf that one day he would remember this event and inform his brothers of their deed, without them realizing his identity at that time. Quran 12:15. It wasn't long before a caravan of Ismailite merchants passed by the well. Upon looking down, they found the young Yusuf, and recognizing his value, rescued him. They took him with them to Egypt, where he was sold as a slave. Yusuf's brothers, upon learning of his rescue, thought they had succeeded in getting rid of him forever. In Egypt, Yusuf was purchased by Al-Aziz, a high-ranking official of the pharaoh. Al-Aziz saw in Yusuf not just a slave, but a young man with great potential. He said to his wife, "Make his stay honorable. Perhaps he will benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son." Quran 12:21. Thus, Yusuf began a new life in Al-Aziz's house, far from his family and homeland, but always with his faith in Allah intact. In Al-Aziz's house, Yusuf continued to demonstrate his integrity and wisdom. His exemplary character and conduct earned him the trust of his master, and he was soon entrusted with significant responsibilities. Al-Aziz, impressed by Yusuf's righteousness and ability, treated him with respect and consideration. Despite being in a foreign land and in servitude, Yusuf never lost his dignity or devotion to Allah. His story teaches us that no matter how difficult the circumstances, maintaining faith and patience can help us overcome any adversity. Yusuf not only survived his brother's betrayal, but also began to forge a path toward his prophetic destiny, guided by Allah's hand. The wife of Al-Aziz, however, began to notice Yusuf in a different way. Trapped in a loveless marriage and consumed by her own desires, she began to see Yusuf as an object of her passion. She tried to resist these feelings, but eventually succumbed to them. The situation reached a critical point when she decided to act on her desires. One day, while Al-Aziz was away, the wife of Al-Aziz attempted to seduce Yusuf. She called him to her chambers, and trying to take advantage of the situation, approached him with clear intentions. Yusuf, aware of his duty to Allah and his master, firmly rejected her advances. He said, "I seek refuge with Allah. Indeed, my master has made my stay a good one. Indeed, the wrongdoers will not succeed." Quran 12:23. Despite his rejection, the wife of Al-Aziz did not stop. Yusuf, seeing that the situation was becoming more dangerous, tried to escape. He ran toward the door, but she caught him, and in the struggle, tore his shirt from behind. At that moment, Al-Aziz entered the room and found his wife and Yusuf in that compromising situation. The wife of Al-Aziz, trapped and humiliated, resorted to lying to save her honor. She accused Yusuf of attempting to dishonor her, saying, "What is the recompense for one who intended evil against your family, except that he be imprisoned or a painful punishment?" Quran 12:25. Yusuf, maintaining his innocence, responded, "She sought to seduce me." Quran 12:26. Al-Aziz was in a dilemma. On one hand, he had his wife's word, and on the other, Yusuf's impeccable reputation. To resolve the matter, a relative of the wife of Al-Aziz suggested a logical solution. If his shirt is torn from the front, then she is telling the truth and he is a liar. But if his shirt is torn from the back, then she is lying and he is telling the truth. Quran 12:27. Upon examining the shirt and finding it torn from behind, Al-Aziz realized the truth. He said to his wife, "Indeed, this is of your own conspiracy. Indeed, your conspiracy is great." Quran 12:28. Despite knowing the truth, Al-Aziz decided not to take drastic measures against his wife to avoid scandal and preserve the honor of his family. Instead, he chose to cover up the matter and maintain peace in his home. However, Yusuf was imprisoned to protect the family's reputation and prevent the scandal from spreading. This unjust imprisonment was a great test for Yusuf, but he accepted his fate with patience and faith in Allah. In prison, Yusuf continued to show his exemplary character. He soon earned the respect and admiration of his fellow prisoners and the guards. His impeccable conduct and wisdom were notable, and Allah continued to bless him with the ability to interpret dreams, a gift that would prove crucial in his life. One day, two of Yusuf's fellow prisoners, who had worked for the Pharaoh, approached him with troubling dreams they could not understand. One was the Pharaoh's cupbearer and the other was his baker. The cupbearer recounted his dream. "Indeed, I saw in a dream that I was pressing wine." The baker said, "Indeed, I saw in a dream that I was carrying bread on my head from which the birds were eating. Inform us of its interpretation. Indeed, we see you to be among those who do good." Quran 12:36. Recognizing the opportunity to serve Allah even in prison, Yusuf responded, "No food will come to you in which you are provided except that I will inform you of its interpretation before it comes to you. That is from what my Lord has taught me. Indeed, I have abandoned the religion of a people who do not believe in Allah and who deny the hereafter." Quran 12:37. Yusuf took the opportunity to speak to them about monotheism and his faith in Allah, explaining that all dream interpretations come from Allah. He then interpreted the dreams of both prisoners. To the cupbearer, he said, "As for one of you, he will give wine to his master." To the baker, he announced a less fortunate fate. "And as for the other, he will be crucified, and the birds will eat from his head. The matter has been decreed concerning which you inquired." Quran 12:41. Both dreams came true exactly as Yusuf had interpreted. The cupbearer was released and restored to his position, while the baker was executed. Before the cupbearer left prison, Yusuf asked him to mention his case to the Pharaoh in hopes of gaining his freedom. And he said to the one he thought would be saved from them, "Mention me before your master." But Satan made him forget to mention it to his master, and he remained in prison for several years. Quran 12:42. Yusuf continued in prison, but never lost hope or faith. He knew that Allah had a purpose for him, and each day he held on to that conviction. Meanwhile, the cupbearer, once released, forgot to mention Yusuf's case to the Pharaoh, resulting in Yusuf staying in prison for an extended period. However, Allah's plan always unfolds in perfect and unforeseen ways. The Pharaoh had a troubling dream that no one in his court could interpret. In his dream, he saw 7 fat cows being devoured by 7 lean cows, and 7 green ears of corn alongside 7 dry ones. This dream troubled the Pharaoh, and he asked his advisors and magicians to interpret it, but none could offer a satisfactory explanation. At that moment, the cupbearer remembered Yusuf and his ability to interpret dreams. He said to the Pharaoh, "I will inform you of its interpretation, so send me." Quran 12:45. The Pharaoh agreed and sent for Yusuf from the prison. When Yusuf was brought before the Pharaoh, he was told the dream. With the wisdom granted by Allah, Yusuf interpreted the Pharaoh's dream and explained that Egypt would have 7 years of great abundance, followed by 7 years of severe famine. Yusuf not only interpreted the dream, but also offered a strategic piece of advice on how to prepare for the years of scarcity. "You will sow for 7 consecutive years. Then what you harvest, leave it in its ear, except a little of which you will eat. Then there will come after that 7 hard years which will consume what you have prepared for them, except a little of what you will store. Then there will come after that a year in which people will have abundant rain, and in which they will press grapes and olives." Quran 12:47-49. Impressed by Yusuf's accuracy and wisdom, the Pharaoh recognized his value and released him from prison. Not only did he release him, but he also appointed him in charge of Egypt's granaries, giving him the authority to implement the necessary measures to face the impending famine. The Pharaoh said, "Indeed, today you are established with us in a position of trust." Quran 12:54. Upon leaving prison, Yusuf demonstrated that his faith and integrity, despite all the trials and tribulations, had been rewarded by Allah. His time in prison, though unjust, was a crucial phase in his life that led him to a position of great power and responsibility, allowing him to save countless people from the impending famine. Yusuf took on his new responsibilities with humility and devotion to Allah. He managed Egypt's resources with great wisdom, storing a significant portion of the crops during the years of abundance to ensure there would be enough food during the years of scarcity. Under his direction, Egypt meticulously prepared for the difficult years ahead. When the years of abundance ended and the years of famine began, Egypt was well prepared thanks to Yusuf's planning and management. The grain reserves were distributed prudently, ensuring that the population had enough food to survive. Yusuf's reputation for wisdom and management spread beyond Egypt's borders, and people from distant lands came to Egypt seeking assistance. Among those who came to Egypt for food were Yusuf's brothers. The famine had severely affected Canaan, and Yaqub, Yusuf's father, sent his sons to Egypt to buy grain. The brothers, not recognizing Yusuf, came to him and pleaded for food. Yusuf recognized them immediately, but they did not know who he was. Yusuf decided to test his brothers to see if they had changed since the day they betrayed him. He spoke to them harshly and accused them of being spies. The brothers, in their defense, told him about their family in Canaan and mentioned their younger brother, Benjamin, who had stayed with their father. Yusuf, using this information, decided to continue with his test. He ordered his servants to fill the brothers' sacks with grain and to secretly place the money they had paid inside the sacks. When the brothers discovered the money upon returning home, they were frightened, fearing they would be accused of theft. Nevertheless, they told their father what had happened and said they needed to return to Egypt with their younger brother, Benjamin, to prove their honesty. Yaqub, still hurt by Yusuf's loss, was hesitant to send Benjamin, but eventually agreed with great reluctance. He said, "Shall I entrust him to you except as I entrusted his brother before? But Allah is the best guardian, and He is the most merciful of the merciful." Quran 12-64. When the brothers returned to Egypt with Benjamin, Yusuf welcomed them again. This time, he prepared a feast for them and treated Benjamin with special affection. During the feast, Yusuf secretly revealed his identity to Benjamin and asked him not to tell his other brothers. He decided to continue with his plan to test his brother's sincerity and repentance. Yusuf ordered that a silver cup be placed in Benjamin's sack, and when the brothers were preparing to depart, accused Benjamin of theft. The brothers, horrified, defended Benjamin's innocence, but when the cup was found in his sack, they were astonished and desperate. They said, "If he has stolen, then a brother of his stole before." Quran 12-77, referring to Yusuf without knowing that he was right in front of them. Yusuf, acting with the authority granted to him, declared that Benjamin must stay in Egypt as punishment. The brothers, horrified at the prospect of returning to their father without Benjamin, pleaded and explained the promise they had made to their father. Reuben, the eldest, said, "O noble Lord, indeed he has an old father. Take one of us in his place, for we certainly see you as one of the doers of good." Quran 12-78. Yusuf, maintaining his position, responded, "Allah forbid that we should take anyone but him with whom we found our property. Indeed, we would then be unjust." Quran 12-79. In response, the brothers were left speechless. Reuben, in an act of desperation and responsibility, decided not to return to Canaan without Benjamin and said to his brothers, "Return to your father and say, 'O our father, indeed your son has stolen. We did not witness except what we knew, and we are not guardians of the unseen." Quran 12-81. The brothers returned to Canaan with great sorrow. Upon arrival, they told their father what had happened, carrying with them the pain of a new loss. Yaqub, upon hearing the news, felt deep sadness but also maintained his faith in Allah. He responded, "No, your souls have enticed you to something. so patience is most fitting. Perhaps Allah will bring them all to me. Indeed, He is the knowing, the wise. Quran 12-83. Yaqub, still full of hope and faith, sent his sons back to Egypt in search of more information and food. He said, "O my sons, go and inquire about Yusuf and his brother, and do not despair of Allah's relief. Indeed, none despair of Allah's relief except the disbelieving people." Quran 12-87. When the brothers arrived again in Egypt, they presented themselves to Yusuf, now in a more desperate situation. Yusuf, seeing the sincerity and repentance in their hearts, decided to reveal himself. He said, "Do you know what you did with Yusuf and his brother when you were ignorant?" Quran 12-89. The brothers, astonished and filled with fear, asked, "Are you really Yusuf?" Quran 12-90. Yusuf, with a heart full of forgiveness and compassion, responded, "I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. Indeed, Allah has favored us. Indeed, whoever fears Allah and is patient, then indeed Allah does not allow the reward of the doers of good to be lost." Quran 12-90. The brothers, realizing they were in the presence of Yusuf, were filled with remorse and said, "By Allah, indeed Allah has preferred you over us, and indeed we have been sinners." Quran 12-91. Yusuf, showing his greatness of spirit, responded, "No reproach will there be upon you today. Allah will forgive you, and He is the most merciful of the merciful." Quran 12-92. Yusuf asked them to take his shirt to their father and tell him that he was alive and that Allah had fulfilled His promise. The brothers did as Yusuf requested. When they arrived in Canaan and showed the shirt to Yaqub, the old prophet, who had lost his sight from crying so much for Yusuf, regained his vision and was filled with joy and gratitude to Allah. He said, "Did I not tell you that I know from Allah what you do not know?" Quran 12-96. Yaqub, with his heart full of joy, prepared his family for the journey to Egypt, where they would be reunited with Yusuf. Upon arrival, Yusuf received them with great honor and joy. They bowed down to him in a sign of respect and gratitude, thus fulfilling the prophetic dream Yusuf had when he was a child. And he raised his parents upon the throne, and they bowed to him. And he said, "O my father, this is the interpretation of my former vision. My Lord has made it come true, and indeed, my Lord has been kind to me when He took me out of prison and brought you from the desert after Satan had caused discord between me and my brothers. Indeed, my Lord is subtle in what He wills. Indeed, He is the knowing, the wise." Quran 12-100. Yusuf thanked Allah for His mercy and guidance through all the trials and tribulations he had faced. He said, "My Lord, indeed you have given me something of authority and taught me the interpretation of dreams. O Creator of the heavens and the earth, you are my protector in this world and the hereafter. Cause me to die a Muslim and join me with the righteous." Quran 12-101. This part of Yusuf's story is a powerful lesson on forgiveness, patience, and faith in Allah. Through his ability to forgive and his unwavering trust in Allah, Yusuf not only reunited with his family, but also demonstrated the importance of mercy and righteousness in all circumstances. The story of Yusuf and the wife of Al-Aziz, as narrated in the Quran, is one of the most touching and instructive narratives. From his early youth, marked by a prophetic dream, to his rise to a position of power in Egypt, every stage of his life teaches valuable lessons about faith, patience, justice, and divine mercy. Throughout his life, Yusuf faced extraordinary trials: the betrayal of his brothers, the temptation of Al-Aziz's wife, the injustice of his imprisonment, and finally, the responsibility of saving a nation from famine. In each of these moments, Yusuf remained steadfast in his faith and integrity, trusting that Allah had a greater plan for him. This trust and patience ultimately led him to redemption and success, fulfilling the vision he had in his dream. As for Al-Aziz's wife, Her story illustrates how desires and falsehoods can lead to self-destruction. Trapped by her own passion and deceit, she became a prisoner of her actions, while Yusuf, though unjustly imprisoned, was eventually freed and elevated to a position of honor due to his righteousness. Who was truly the victim in this story? The real victim is the moral corruption that arises when one deviates from the path of justice and truth. Yusuf, despite all adversities, was never a victim in the spiritual sense. His story teaches us that true victory belongs to those who remain faithful to Allah and His commands, regardless of the circumstances. May the story of Yusuf inspire us all to seek truth, justice, and patience in our lives, always remembering that Allah is the best of planners and that His justice will prevail over all things. In the end, it is unwavering faith in Allah that will guide us through our trials and tribulations towards true redemption and success.